Recording now.
Okay, so this is a little tutorial about sanding scarf joints into very thin plywood. For the purposes of this demo, this is a piece of 0.6mm plywood, and I'm trying to sand into the edge of it a 10:1 scarf joint so it can be overlapped onto each of the sheets of the model. This is actually a tip piece, 0.6. This centre section here is actually being done in 0.8. Which is slightly easier to do. You've got a little bit more meat on the plywood to play with. But the principle's exactly the same, and I'm going to do this bit of 0.6 so you can see what's what. I've got on the bench here a piece of just MDF. The important thing is it's got a good sharp square edge. As you sand these, you tend to round the edge off. So in order to get a nice good joint, you need a nice sharp edge. A piece of glass is good, but I tend to use a bit of MDF, and actually when it's the edge is gone, I just run it through the saw, slice about ½ an inch off the edge, and I've got a good edge again. I build fairly big models, so I've got a big sheet, but obviously if you're doing a smaller or quarter scale model, principle's exactly the same, and this works for any thickness of plywood, right down to 0.4, no problem at all. The tool of choice is Permagrip. I'm using the fine side of the Permagrip. Please don't attack it with the rough side first, because you'll just rip the grain out of the side. But all we need to do, I put that up against the edge to make sure that the sheet is dead aligned with the edge and it's clear of the end of the bench. Now I'm just going to hold that now with my hand, set the angle just with my finger, using my fingers against the edge of the MDF to hold it in place. And this is a bit like a leap of faith, but you've just got to go for it. And all I'm basically going to do is run this up and down the edge. Now I'm keeping an eye on it as I go along, to ensure that the grain lines stay pretty straight. Be careful as you come to the end that you don't run the Permagrip block round the corner, because you'll start sanding the top, and it is important that you keep it at the right angle all the way along. Now obviously this material is quite thin, 0.6mm, so it sands pretty quickly, and you can see what we're looking for is a nice straight line all the way through. You can see the laminations, we're just coming up to the last piece now. So quite light pressure here, because we're trying to sand basically to nothing. And if you push too hard, you'll start pulling the end of the grain out. So there we are, that's as simple as that. Now what we've got to check, turn it over, is that we haven't broken into this edge anywhere, because this is the edge that's going to sit on the model up against the last piece of sheeting, and if there's any breakouts of the edge, you're not going to see a nice clean line. So that's it. It's as quick as that, sanding the edge of a sheet of ply.